Former President Donald Trump says that we are closer to World War III than we ever have been, and I'll let you hear exactly what he has to say. While other top Republicans say that's, well, something very different, and I'll let you hear what they have to say. This comes as Congress and the White House is really battling with what China and Russia and what we're dealing with right now is huge amount of conflict with, well, potentially World War III and, well, making sure that doesn't happen. And I'll let you hear the details directly in this video. So let's jump right in. Thanks so much for liking and sharing these videos. And if you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on new videos that come out on our YouTube channel here every day. Let's jump right in. So former President Donald Trump said what a lot of us are thinking, and that we are ever closer to World War III with Russia, China, or North Korea. Here's what he has to say. Let me know your thoughts here.
World War III has never been closer than it is right now. We need to clean house of all of the warmongers and America last globalists and the deep state, the Pentagon, the State Department, and the national security industrial complex. One of the reasons I was the only president in generations who didn't start a war is that I was the only president who rejected the catastrophic advice of many of Washington's generals, bureaucrats, and the so-called diplomats who only know how to get us into conflict, but they don't know how to get us out. For decades, we've had the very same people, such as Victoria Nuland and many others just like her, obsessed with pushing Ukraine toward NATO, not to mention the State Department support for uprisings in Ukraine. These people have been seeking confrontation for a long time, much like the case in Iraq and other parts of the world, and now we're teetering on the brink of World War III. And a lot of people don't see it, but I see it, and I've been right about a lot of things. They all say Trump's been right about everything. None of this excuses in any way the outrageous and horrible invasion of Ukraine 1 year ago, which would have never happened if I was your president, not even a little chance. But it does mean that here in America, we need to get rid of the corrupt globalist establishment that has botched every major foreign policy decision for decades, and that includes President Biden, whose own people said he's never made a good decision when it comes to looking at other countries and looking at wars. We have to replace them with people who support American interests. Over our 4 years in the White House, we made incredible progress in putting the America last contingent aside and bringing the world to peace. And now we're going to complete the mission. The State Department, Pentagon, and national security establishment will be a very different place by the end of my administration. In fact, just into my administration, it'll be a very different place, and it'll get things done, just like I did 4 years ago. We never had it so good. We'll also stop the lobbyists and the big defense contractors from going in and pushing our senior military and national security officials toward conflict, only to reward them when they retire with lucrative jobs, getting paid millions and millions of dollars. Take a look at the globalist warmonger donors backing our opponents. That's because they're candidates of war. I am the president who delivers peace, and it's peace through strength. There was a reason we had no conflict. There was a reason we didn't get into wars, because other countries respected us. I entirely built, all right from the beginning, rebuilt our military. It's a big reason for that. They didn't want to mess around with the United States, and now they're laughing at us.
Warning about unprecedented danger to the United States, which at least he says would not have happened if he was the president. You guys can let me know your thoughts on that here in the comment section. Of course, I know we'll have a lot of different opinions on that, especially if you're a Republican or a Democrat. Of course, we don't really know if that would have been the case or not here. We do know that Russian President Vladimir Putin did invade part of Ukraine, Crimea, in 2014, anyways. So, whether or not that would have happened, I mean, we all have our own opinions, but remember, they basically took over Crimea years before Trump, anyways. So, I mean, I don't know. Um, Again, you guys can let me know your thoughts in the comments and feel free to read through them. But the problem is now is that Ukraine doesn't want to give up their land to end the war. Trump had previously offered a peace broker to broker the peace negotiations between Ukraine, but it's not that simple here because Ukraine doesn't want to give up any of their land to end the war. They also said that Russia has to leave the country and not attack them to end the war, which Russia doesn't want to do. Russia also doesn't want to stop the war. They want to take over part of Ukraine to end the war. They want to basically in the what most of the world, like it's like 99% of the world considers a not legitimate vote when they, took over. That's about 15 or 20% of Ukraine that the United Nations voted on, and it was about 99% of the United Nations, which is basically the world, said, yeah, that vote wasn't real. There was only a few countries, along with Russia, I think, that voted with. It was like Russia and North Korea and a couple of different countries that voted with Russia and said, yeah, those were legitimate. 99% of the countries that voted no. There was just some countries that just abstained and didn't vote. Basically said those were not legitimate votes. So yeah, because I mean, look what happened. I mean, they voted at gunpoint. They went door to door with Russian armies and soldiers, and basically said, "Give us your vote." With soldiers there at the door. Who knows what happened? And then they took the votes back and Russia counted them themselves. There wasn't like Ukrainian officials and Russia officials like counting them together. No, Russia just took them back and gave us the answers. So, I mean, you guys can let me know your thoughts here on that. Yeah. Meanwhile, some of the rest of the Republican Party, Mitch McConnell, the leader of the Republicans in the Senate, and some other Republican senators here as well. Mitch McConnell is the longest leader of the Senate ever. Mitch McConnell calls the Ukraine aid a, quote, direct investment for the U.S. against Putin's war machine. He says here, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, Republican from Kentucky, affirmed that the U.S. aid to Ukraine is a, quote, direct investment in the country's interests and against Russian President Vladimir Putin's war machine on the first anniversary of Russia's full-scale invasion. Senate Minority Leader, who used to be the Majority Leader, but basically the leader of the Republicans in the Senate, in a statement on Friday said that the U.S. national security is tied to stability and security in Europe and preventing Russian forces from advancing in the continent. Says, quote, as my fellow leading Republicans and I have explained, it is not an act of charity for the United States and our NATO allies to help supply the Ukrainian people's self-defense. It is a direct investment in our own core national interests. Yeah. McConnell added that the United States has largely been sending older weapons from its stockpile, allowing the U.S. to replenish its inventory with more modern versions of what's being sent abroad. And this actually goes with what President Biden just said about the jets. I'll update this here with you guys here in an upcoming video. If Putin were given a green light to destabilize Europe, which is kind of what happened in World War II with Hitler, invading and killing at will, the long-term cost to the United States in both dollars and security risks, this is a quote from McConnell, would be astronomically higher than the minuscule fraction of our GDP that we have invested in Ukraine's defense such far. He called on the Biden administration and U.S. allies to act more decisively in ensuring that their combined assistance to Ukraine and investments in their own militaries happen at the speed of relevance. He said experience has shown that weakness and hesitation are what provokes Putin to act. The road to peace lies in speedily surging Ukraine to the tools they need to achieve victory as they define it. Interesting. Now, in a lot of ways, Mitch McConnell is right. The amount that we have spent to Ukraine is a tiny fraction in the course of what we would spend in a war against Russia. Also, it's considerably damaged. I don't remember who said the quote here, but if you think about what the damage has done to Russia's army, remember, Russia is basically considered enemy number one to the United States. Look at what has done to their army. And the United States has not lost a single army man. Yeah, so if you think about that, and if anything, we're helping Ukraine defend their own country from an invader. So you guys can let me know your thoughts here on this. The other alternative is that Putin, I almost said Hitler, Putin takes over and wins, and what message does that send to the world? They've also indicated their plans that they would also take over Moldova. They have already taken over Crimea. They've also indicated they want to take over Belarus. And if you just look at the pieces of the puzzle here, taking over country after country after country in Europe, that's exactly what Hitler did in World War II. And World War II led to the United States being dragged into it. And what did happen? I mean, literally Pearl Harbor, United States, and we ended up in the war anyways. So history shows us that if we let somebody like Hitler or Putin go unchecked, we're going to be dragged into it anyways, and the cost is going to be much, much higher with money, equipment, and lives. So if anything, I mean, you guys can let me know your thoughts. Of course, everybody has a slightly different opinion or a largely different opinion one way or the other. But imagine if you lived in Ukraine and there's an army at your doorstep. Remember when people were saying that they weren't going to invade? Yeah. Well, that didn't happen. But now here we are going into year two, or now in year two of them basically invading the country, trying to take it over. And I mean, it's either you let them win or you don't. So, I mean, you guys can let me know your thoughts here on this, but the question is will the U.S. get dragged into the war here, or do you just let Putin win? Yeah, so how does this end? Let me know your thoughts here in the comments. I'll keep you up to date here. If you haven't yet, make sure to click the subscribe button down below so you don't miss out on new videos. Click the bell icon afterwards. New videos come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thanks so much for liking and sharing these videos so we can get the message out. Republican, Democrat, Independent, I literally just share it to you because I'm not from either side. I'm just trying to get the message out because we're one country. We need to be more united, not the divided states of America. Yeah. Here's some videos you can watch next. Here is a video about new Social Security benefits that could be added and Medicaid ending for millions of Americans. Or what President Biden has to say about China and Russia. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.